Hi, I'm Dharni from Department of Information Technology, Dr. N.G.P. Arts and Science College. So today in this video, I'm going to discuss about the structures in C. Okay. So structure means we are going to discuss about what is a structure and how a structure can be defined in C language and what is a structure member. So what we call as a structure member and how to define those structure members and how can we initialize and access those structure members. And finally, we are going to see how to incorporate arrays inside this structure. So to start with, first we will see what is an array, where can we use this array. So usually array it is used to store the number of data items which is of same data type, right? So you consider a normal variable, for example int a, which means that the compiler it will allocate a byte of 2 size, right? So because the size of integer is 2 bytes, it will allocate 2 bytes in memory and a single integer value can store in that variable. Suppose in case if I want to store more than one value in the same variable means we will move on to this array type. So array is nothing but a data type, right? So or a structure where we are going to store more values of same data type. Suppose in case in our application we need to store the values of different data types to a same variable means we can go for structure concept. So this is the basic difference between an array and a structure. So array it will store the values of same data type, whereas in structure we can store the values of different types of data. For example, usually this array is used to represent a record. For example, we will see one real-time example. You just consider the library. Okay, you want to maintain the book details in the library. So I have considered some of the attributes to be maintained, like title of the book, who is the author of the book, then what is the subject or in which stream this book belongs to, and finally the book ID. So these are the four values or the four data I have to store to maintain the book details. So you can see in this the title, author and subject are all of same data type. Let us consider as string. Okay. And what about the book ID? It may be an alphanumeric or it may be an integer value. It depends on the user, right? And so I want to have a variable or I want to declare a variable to store all these values. So in this case we can go for structure. So we want to create a structure to store all these four values. So how to define a structure? So the structure is usually defined by using a keyword called struct, right? So you know that in C there are a number of keywords like we give keywords for data types, then for return types. Like this, we are having number of keywords, and for defining a structure, we want to use a keyword called struct. So on seeing this, by using the struct keyword, we are defining a new data type which consists of more than one member. So let us see what is the syntax for defining a structure. So this is a basic syntax for defining a structure. So it should usually start with the keyword struct, then structure tag. So structure tag is nothing but the structure name. So we should give a name to a structure so that we can refer it anywhere in our program. So we know that the structure it consists of n number of member variables, right? So we can give the definition for those members, and finally we should give one or more structure variables. Okay? And that is the general syntax. Okay, so let us see one example. So we have already discussed about book structure. So now I know that I'm going to maintain the details of book. So what I'm going to give? I am going to give the structure tag as books. So struct books. And what are the details I'm going to maintain inside that one? So the first one is title. So title, I am defining that variable. So it consists of character which can hold up to 50 characters. So the length of the title will be maximum of 50. And then the author of the book. then the subject, and finally the book ID. Okay, so you can see in this one the first three things. Okay, that is the title, then author, and the subjects. So both, all the three variables are of data type character, and book ID is of integer data type. And finally, I am closing the structure. Okay, and what is this book? So it is nothing but I'm creating a variable for the structure. Okay, so this is just a definition. Okay, so if I want to access the structure means I should have a variable. Okay, so let us see how memory allocation can be done for this structure. Okay, so before seeing that one, we just have another example. Okay, so this is another example where I'm going to specify the student structure. Okay, so here the same thing, struct keyword, then student. So from this member variables, you came to know what are the details I'm going to maintain. So I'm going to manage the name, age, and the gender of a student. Okay, so these are the three values I'm going to maintain. And you please remember the structure should always end with the semicolon. Okay, so this is the main thing. So structure should always end with semicolon. And now we are going to see how a structure variable can be declared. Okay, so the structure variable can be declared in two different ways. Okay, so the first one we have already discussed in the previous example only. Okay, so this is the student structure, which consists of name of the student, then age, then branch to which branch he belongs, then what is the gender of the student. Okay, so here you can see that this S1 and S2. Okay, so these are the two different structure variables, and it is declared outside the structure. So I have already told that the structure should end with semicolon, right? So this point, that is the structure student S1 comma S2, here we are declaring the variable for the structure student, and this declaration is done after the structure definition. So this is one type of declaring a variable, and another type of declaring a variable is within the structure definition itself. So the same thing, structure student, then character name, then age, then branch, then what is the gender of the student. And you can see here this S1 and S2 have been declared in the structure definition itself. Okay, so these are the two different types of assignment for the variable of the structure, right? So here S1 and S2 are the variables of the structure student. So next we will see how to access the structure member. Okay, so how actually the structure variables will be stored. Okay, so in the previous example we have seen, right, uh, the variables, it can be declared either within the structure definition or outside the definition. Okay, so whenever you are giving a structure, right, for example we have discussed book structure, right? So in that book it consists of title, author, and subject, and finally the book code. So after compiling that one, the compiler knows that the book is a user defined uh, data type. Okay, that's all. The memory will not be allocated at that time. So the memory for the structure will be allocated only when the variable is created. Okay, so after creating the variable only, the memory allocation will be done for the structure definition. Okay, so now we will see how the structure members can be accessed. So usually the structure members are accessed using the dot operator. Okay, so you can see, so during the definition only, the compilers knows the size of the structure. Okay, so once a variable is created, for example, we have discussed book ID, right? So for this book data structure, I'm going to create a variable called book1. Okay, so when I am creating a variable, automatically the memory will be allocated. Okay, so keep it in mind, during the definition, the memory will not be allocated. Only when the variable is created, the memory will be allocated. Okay, so in that book, we are having four different members, right? Structure members. So one is the name, and another one is the author of the book, right? And the third one is the subject, or the stream which the books belongs, and the last one is the book ID. So this is how the memory will be allocated. So for example, for this name, 50 bits will be allocated, then for author 50 bits, then for subject 50 bits. Okay, and for this book ID, you consider 10 bits will be allocated. So totally, in total, this is 150 plus or 10. So 160 bytes will be allocated for this structure variable B1. Okay. So suppose if I want to access any of these data members, means I should use this dot operator. Okay. So with one example, we will see how this members are accessed. Okay. So here you can see the initialization. With the initialization, we can see the accessing also, right? So like any other data type, the structure variables can also be initialized. So this is one structure, example structure. So I'm having a patient which holds the values of height, weight, and age. Okay, so if I want to assign the values for all these members, means I can, this is the first way of initialization. So structure patient P1. So when this variable is created, automatically in the memory, okay, in the memory, the space will be allocated for the variable P1. Okay, so the structure of this P1 is, it consists of height, weight, and then age. So in height, this 180 will be stored, and in weight 73 will be stored, and in age 23 will be stored. Okay, so this is how a structure variable is accessed or stored in the memory. And this is the second type of initialization. So in the first type, we have given the values in one shot, right? So here you can see if for each and every individual variables, I'm assigning the value. Okay. So using this dot operator, we have seen that using dot operator only, we can access the data or the structure members. Okay. So as we have already discussed, the memory allocation, it consists of height, weight, and age. So if I want to access the height of P1, means I should give P1 dot height. Okay. If I want to access weight of P1, means P1 dot weight. Okay. Then P1 dot age. So this is how the member variables will be accessed using dot operator. And this is another example which consists of whole C of one complete C program. So you can see here I'm giving a structure called student. So name, age, branch, and gender. So these are the things I'm going to store in the memory. And this is the main program. So here I have defined a variable for the structure called S1. So S1 dot age equal to 18. So once when this line is executed, automatically the memory will be created for the variable S1. Okay, so now only the memory will be created, not during the definition, structure definition. Only when the variable is created, the memory for that structure will be created. So here it consists of name, age, then branch, and then finally the gender. So it consists of four different data members. Okay, so here S1 dot age. So age is the second member. So in the second member, the value 18 will be stored. Okay, then name. Name will be stored in the first member variable. Okay, so this is how the memory will be utilized for structure. So now after that, I'm just printing the name and value. So I have given the value only for two members. So what about another two members? Automatically a null value will be stored for these, or a garbage value will be taken for these two data members. Okay. So just I'm giving the two values for two members, and I'm just accessing that one. Okay. So this is a simple example for how a data member can be accessed using the dot operator. And this is the output for this one. So I have given printf statement. and I'm going to print only two variables, that is name and then age. So name, how can I access that is s1.name, then s1.age. And next we will see array of structures. So array of structure is nothing but, in the previous example I have created only one variable, that is s1 for the structure, right? So now I'm going to create array of variables for that structure. So here this is an example for array of structure. So you can see from this line you can interpret that I'm having a structure called employee, and it is having 5 variables, that is EMP of 5. So EMP of 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So these are the 5 different array structure variables, right? So now we will see one simple example for this array of structures. So you can see, so this is my structure employee, and this consists of only two variables, name and salary, and I'm giving the values for both the member variables. Okay, so I'm giving for the details for 3 employees. Okay, so I have given a for loop, and inside this loop for each and every employee I'm getting the data. So after getting the data, I'm just going to display those values. Okay, so this is the output for the previous program. So for the first one, I'm just entering the values, that is the name, salary for 3 employees. So this is the first employee, this is the second one, and this is the third one. So for these three things, for three employees, I got the values, and after that I am displaying those values. So this is the output of the previous program. So in this array where structure variable, how the memory will be allocated. For example, I am creating 3 different structures, array structures, right? So EMP, let it consider as E. Okay, so E of 0, one structure memory will be allocated. Then similarly for this E of 0, E of 1, E of 2, like that it will be allocated. So here what are the things we are going to store? For each employee we are going to store only the name and salary. So for each and every variable, these two members will be allocated in the memory. So if I want to store, or if I want to access the first employee detail, means I want to give E0 dot name, E of 0 dot age, like that I have to give. Okay, if it is a second employee, means I have to give E of 1 dot name, E of 2 dot age. Okay, so like this only the memory will be allocated for array of structures. Okay, so in the nutshell we have discussed, starting with the structures and the definition of structure, then how a structure members can be defined and accessed, and how the value can be initialized to those structure members, and finally we ended with the array of structures. So how array of variables can be declared for the structure, and how the memory will be allocated for those variables, and how can we access the data members in the array of structures. So these are the things we have discussed in this video. Okay. Thanks for watching the video.